Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis, and I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner.
And I'm Mitch. I'm really enjoying the spring of deception.
Man, it has been nice.
Yeah.
It has been really nice this week.
You know, I took half a day yesterday, did yard work, and just enjoyed being outside. I know Monday, at least it showed a possibility of snow again, so
Yeah.
got to enjoy it while we have it.
Monday's a golf day for me now. Well, outside golf day for me now.
Okay.
It's always been a golf day, but now we have officially started our outdoor league, and I'm not pleased with the Monday forecast right now. I am not happy with it.
But as soon as we get done here, I'm going to be outside again.
I
I'm
know.
just going to enjoy it while it's there.
I actually wanted to ask you if you wanted to hang out just a minute after and help me with something outside. So we'll talk about that after.
All right. We'll see. Does it include lifting something heavy?
Yeah, and then some. Yeah, but we'll see. See how much time you have, and I don't necessarily need it, but it would be helpful. So
All right.
but it's outside, so enjoy the weather out there.
You're great.
Today is nice. Like, today is a wonderful day. Tomorrow it starts to turn on us though a little bit, right?
I
think
think
it's
I'm looking at
tomorrow.
it lately.
Yeah. And then Monday's awful. I don't know that we're golfing outside now. Well, let's bring in our guest today. Our guest today is the owner and founder of Grand Rapids Running Tours, Carolyn Cook. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Let's just start off with one of the things that we really like to do is get people's background on what got them involved with running, endurance sports, that kind of a thing. So let's just start there with what got you started with running or endurance sports in general.
Well, really, I've always been involved in athletics, but as a young person, I was always the cheerleader.
Okay.
I was on the sidelines cheering for everybody else, even through Michigan State. I was a cheerleader at Michigan State.
Okay.
And it was not until I was raising my family that I would start going to my kids' track meets. I saw these beautiful bodies running in motion, and that really inspired me. So at the age of 42, I started running.
Wow. So you didn't start running until 42.
42 years old.
You were in athletics, obviously,
Right.
being a cheerleader. I mean, that's a very athletic.
Gymnastics, tennis, hiking, but not actually running.
Okay.
So I started running, and then we were living in Greenville at the time, and there's the Danish Festival.
Yeah.
And there's a
I know it.
infamous 4-mile run around the lake during Danish Festival, and it ends on Marvel Hill,
Yeah.
and it's a killer. And I said, I'm going to tackle that.
That takes you up to Baldwin Elementary, right?
Yeah.
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 I know. My wife and I grew up near Greenville. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness
I
gracious.
used to go to the Church of the Nazarene right around the corner.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we lived at the corner of Judd and Baldwin.
Oh, wow.
So, in fact, in an 1800s old farmhouse that was the original property of all that area.
Oh, my goodness. That's hilarious.
Isn't that a small world?
This is a tiny world.
Tiny world, but Marvel was a big hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was my first race,
Oh, okay.
4 miles.
Nice.
And
Nice.
and that got me hooked.
I was just gonna say that tripped it, and you were done.
I was done, and then within 2 years, I was running marathons. So
Wow.
I really found out I was competitive. I really liked.
Oh, okay.
I loved the running lifestyle, but I also liked competing at races.
Did you, when you were a cheerleader, there's competitions, right? Did you have that same fire of competition then?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so you knew you
it's a
had it.
lifelong habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you started running and realized you could do it pretty well, pretty quickly.
I learned to appreciate this whole new concept of age groups. I didn't have to necessarily win the race. I could win in age group. And so then I became an age grouper.
Ah, okay.
And you still have that
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you line up. It's
Watch out.
you get serious.
Yeah. I like that. And the funny thing is I'm not an aggressive person by nature.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm really pretty nice and chill, but running brings out the beast. And I
Really?
really like to.
Elbows kind of stuff too.
No, I'm very polite but I get really nervous at races.
Oh, do you?
Really nervous
Okay.
because I want to do well. We always say, well, my first goal is to finish.
Uh-huh.
But my first goal is, yes, to finish, but then
A
I
close
want
second.
to I want to show well.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So wait. Yeah,
so
go ahead.
would you ever have you ever run a race with just friends where you take it easy?
I paced some friends in some marathons.
Okay.
Their first marathons. I have done that.
But then in the back of your head the whole time, it's like I should be running faster.
Right. In fact, I will admit something to you that I'm not necessarily proud of.
Uh-oh.
I was a pacer for Riverbank Run one year. Okay.
You didn't stay with your pace group, did you?
No, I brought that pace group in right precisely.
Oh, okay. Good.
What I was assigned to
Okay,
do.
good.
But what I did is I took my bib off before I crossed the finish line because I didn't want that time recorded.
Oh, my goodness.
I know other people that do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And then that came back to bite me because a friend said, hey, if you pace well in, for instance, the Riverbank Run, you can be a pacer in Chicago. You just have to show proof of your pacing. And she's...
You didn't have
proof.
Oh,
I
that's
had
funny.
my watch,
Yeah.
but I didn't ever
I am-
record a time.
I am so glad that bit you. That
that's
makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So you ran the 4-miler at Danish Festival. A few years later, you run marathons. That's been several years ago now, and you have obviously logged loads of marathons since.
Well, I've run 28 marathons.
Okay.
And every Riverbank Run since
okay.
that time, since 2002.
What was your first marathon then?
Chicago. And
Really?
believe it or not, my first marathon was my fastest.
Oh,
And I haven't come within 15 minutes of my first marathon time.
Wow.
really?
And what really bugs me about that is I had IT band issues during that first. So I was hobbling
Wow.
and
What do you? What do you chalk that up to? Like, why? Not
Well,
the IT band issues, but the why have you not been able to get close to that anymore?
I think the first one I didn't know running.
Uh-huh.
And I really went out hard the first half.
Okay.
No negative splits.
Okay.
And it's classic. I was feeling great. I
yeah.
was rested.
Yeah.
I was way under my anticipated pace. And I thought I could bank time.
That's funny. That's
Yes.
typical.
I feel like we need a jingle or something when because it's the Family Guy episode where the guy goes to the movies or Peter goes to the movies and he's sitting back and he's waiting for them to say the movie title in the movie. There it is.
Oh.
And just like you did, she goes, I don't know running. We need like a jingle like
Right,
anytime
yeah.
somebody says that.
The bell goes off.
Yeah.
That's a classic one. The banking time. is
Yeah.
Right.
is
And
one
you
of my
really
favorites.
are, that's going through your head. Wow, I am cruising now. And then, of course, as they say, that really comes back to haunt you in the final six. The final six. And that did happen. But in Chicago, have you run Chicago before?
Yeah, I have
so
not.
it like carries you for 13 miles before you even think about your body.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people
Yeah.
along the course and you're just elated.
Yeah.
And it just carries you. And then all of a sudden,
You get that to that industrial area.
right, it's like,
yeah.
okay, I gotta get back to the end now.
Yeah.
So that becomes a little bit of a trudge. My favorite part of Chicago, though, I say this in jest, because I've run Chicago 5 times.
Okay.
And Actually, I ran Chicago 5 years in a row before you had to be in a lottery. You just
okay.
signed up.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
not an issue.
Yeah.
But Chicago, flat, 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 flat. And then there's a bridge at the end. Just
Yeah.
this little teeny incline.
And it feels like a mountain.
You can barely get your legs up that.
Yeah.
So that's my funny part of Chicago.
Yeah, because Chicago it's got to be one of the flattest races, even in the Midwest, which is a
Right.
ton of flat races
Right.
for
But that-
marathons.
But it's funny, like I think about that when we did the 50K, the Cal Haven. It is pretty much downhill for that. It's 33 and a half miles. Downhill,
down-
and that last little bit, it just rises a little
Yeah.
bit. It feels like the biggest hill in the world at the end of
does.
that thing. Have you run Cal Haven or not?
No, I've not done an ultra
No
Okay.
ultras yet.
Okay.
Yet.
Well, that's next.
yet. Right. I actually sometimes at the end of a marathon, my watch says more than 26.2. So that's technically an ultra.
technically an ultra.
Yeah.
Not an ultra race, but an ultra distance,
the one-
I suppose.
Route 66 marathon I did.
Oh, that's right.
And they call that the world's shortest or
Longest?
the shortest ultra.
Oh.
So they have an out and back at the end. You can choose to do it or not do it. And you go out, you do a shot of beer, come back, they give you a coin for it, and then you finish the race. So they have an out and back just to make it longer than 26.2 miles that you can do. And I was amazed at how many people didn't get the shot of beer and just went, didn't do the out and back.
Huh.
I thought that, it's right at the end of the race. So
That's clever.
you can see the finish line.
What was the race you guys did that was stupid long? It was an actual marathon, and you're like, this thing was like 27, 28 miles.
That was the one in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
It was like it was like 28 miles.
Yeah.
Because I got to the half and I'm like, ruh-roh.
14.
Those are Texas miles.
Yeah, everything is bigger
bigger.
in Texas.
And I was having a bad day too.
Yeah.
And I saw my watch at, because it was 2 loops. And I saw my watch. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. This is going to be a long day.
Not only am I having a bad day, but this is a mile long at the half.
I didn't sign up for an ultra. I signed up for a marathon. I'm doing an ultra.
That
That
book
hurts.
I read, I just read a book recently. Running Man, and the guy in it, he went to Australia for work, and he went and he signed up for a race, and he inadvertently thought he was signing up for like a 15-mile race or something, and it turned out to be a 50K.
Oops.
Yeah, talk about a
Well, that's
oops.
you're getting more for your money then.
Yeah, he got a lot more for his
bargain.
money. He actually did finish the whole thing, which is crazy. But anyway,
Maybe that's the best way to do your
right.
first
I
one.
suppose. But boy, that's
So what's your favorite race that you've done then?
That's a question that evokes pleasant memories.
okay.
It's
There's-
hard for me to answer.
Yeah.
Because everything is special, I think.
Yes,
that I've
they're
done.
so unique. My first marathon abroad was the Athens Marathon.
Oh, wow.
wow.
And it was on literally the 2,500th anniversary of the running of the marathon. And so they bus you out to the little city of Marathon, and then you run into Athens. And the first 20 miles are a slight slope up, okay? And then the last 6 are down.
That sounds perfect.
And you're cruising down.
Yeah, you're feeling good on those last 6.
And you
well,
finish in the
Coliseum.
Olympic Stadium.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
In Athens.
Chills.
wow.
Chills. So that was really, really fun.
Was that
fun.
was that well supported crowd wise? Is that pretty?
Oh, yes. Well supported. In fact, the crowd is handing you olive branches.
Oh, of course.
So you, of course, feel obligated to take them, and then I guess I need to shed this along the way, but they're giving you olive branches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the liquids that they offered, not so good.
Oh.
But you had known in advance, it wasn't going to be Gatorade, it was some other brand. So you kind of brought your own stuff. But that was
I've been at races where it's like some off, whatever weird. And it's like, whoa.
right. So you have to sort of plan ahead.
Yeah.
But
So Athens stands out as one.
Athens stands out. And then I've been fortunate enough to run the world majors. So I have been to New York, Boston, Chicago, and then Tokyo, London, and Berlin.
Oh, wow.
Man, I thought LA was one. No.
No.
No. And now they're considering another.
So now you got to do that.
Yeah, and right now it's either going to be South Africa or Australia.
They're looking at adding.
They're looking at adding.
They should do both.
I know.
Yeah, why not?
But then I don't have my world major accomplishment anymore. It's but that's what running's all about.
Yeah.
Setting new
doing
goals.
more, yeah.
Right.
But you said you've ran 28 marathons. Mm-hmm. So many of them are.
Six of them are majors.
Yeah. Well, and then you did Chicago 5 times.
Right,
on top of
and
that,
I did Boston 4 times, and then I have done a lot in the state of Michigan because I wanted to support the state, but now I'm thinking about something different, and I'm a Grand Masters runner, and or maybe I'm Grand Master. Great Grandmasters, do they have that?
I don't. Yeah,
I think they should because they think they call masters at 40 up now, and
I
it's
think
like
they do.
I think 60's the new masters, don't you? I mean,
I'm happy with 40 and up being masters right now. I think it should be 50 and up real soon.
Yeah, but I decided just really a year or so ago that I'd like to do the 50 states. And most people do that when they start younger. So my calculation is if I do 2, because I've done so many repeats in the state of Michigan or the state of Illinois, etc. Right now I've completed 9 states. And I am 63 years old. So that means I'm doing Missouri. I'm getting the M in this fall.
Okay.
So if you do the math, I will be 84 if I do 2
a year.
2 a year. Because I don't want to exclude other opportunities that come up.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't want to just focus solely on that.
Schedule.
So
yeah.
I have. The most I did in a year, I did 22 marathons in a year. But
that knocks out a lot.
it does. So I did.
You could be done in 3 years.
I basically did 5 states in 3 weekends, but one of them was Michigan. So I've run Michigan like 80 times or plus, I think. So all my states. So I did 4 new states in 2 weekends. So I did doubles. So if you think about, like, if you're going to do an Eastern state, those states are close enough together.
You can definitely get more.
You can
than
knock 2 off
every
That's
time you
true.
go.
a weekend.
That's true. But I want to stay married.
I've been married for 30 years. She knows this is my sanity.
Yeah.
I'm not married to a runner. I'm married to a biker, so we bike a lot.
Okay.
And that's our thing together. And golf. We're golfing this afternoon. So we do that
nice.
together, but not a runner. So he doesn't share that same mentality.
But the 2-state thing isn't crazy. Like,
No.
it sounds crazy, but you can do. I mean, Eastern states are so close together that you can knock them off 2 in a weekend, and then you can make it fun.
maybe you
So
can
you
be
can make
done
that
by
one
80.
trip. So you can knock a couple years off it.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Easily
good.
knock a couple years off it.
I like that.
But like my wife and I, we're going to Montana as a vacation, but we are also. I mean,
Knocking off.
people tease me about it all the time. Like, you not ever do a vacation without doing a race? Sometimes. But my wife is fine with that. She's like, one day. It's one day. It's not a big deal. And then we do whatever we're going to do. So you could take your bike or you could do whatever. It's just one day.
Right. Well, what my husband teases is that for the most part, the marathons are run in the spring and the fall, and it's not always the best time to travel.
Yeah.
He says, so thank you for taking me to Tokyo when it was cool and rainy. Thank you for
You're
taking
welcome.
me to, and so
That's true.
it is but he is, in his defense, he's very supportive.
Yeah.
He came with me I ran Waukesha 2 weeks ago
Oh, nice.
because I needed a W. I needed Wisconsin. Since this year it's Wisconsin and Missouri.
Where in Missouri? What race?
I'm going to run Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've done 2 in Missouri. I'm trying to think of what
But not Kansas City.
No, I did Bass Pro Shop and
Oh, yeah.
you start inside the building. That was years ago. And then I'm trying to think of the other one was just like the first year they did
In
it.
Bass Pro Shops?
No, it was the first.
Or you started in the building?
We started in the building. It was
Oh,
years
wow.
ago. Yeah.
Oh,
it was
that's
Clint's.
cool.
It was Clint's idea, of course.
Ah,
The other one was like the first year they had the race, and the only reason why I did it is I was going with Brian because he was running 55 in a year,
oh, yeah.
and we were going to. That was when we were going to Route 66. He's like, "Hey, I found another race on the way."
On the way.
So I'm
Let's
like,
knock this
I'm
out.
like, I already got Missouri, but maybe
Why not?
And I wasn't going to do it. And then I told my wife that as Brian was picking me up, I'm like, yeah, by the way, I'm doing a double this weekend.
Oh, my gosh. So your body hangs in there?
Sometimes.
Yeah. The last couple of years of
The last couple of years, my back has been getting messed up here and there. So it's hit me this year. So I have
Yeah.
issues. But for the most part, I think I've done, I don't know, 5 or 6 doubles at least. So
the key is, can you shut off the I have to go fast? Because if you're going to do a double, you have to look at it a little bit differently, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
That's a no.
that's a no.
Well, as long as you're
So is that part of-
enjoying the race.
Is that part of your 50 states goal? Is you got to get an age grouper?
No, I always like to BQ my races.
Okay.
That's my and then there's this new thing that's come up. And that is, for instance, I already had planned for Waukesha and Kansas City. And then I got an invite to be in the Wanda Age Group Championships, which is through the World Majors.
Oh,
And that's in Chicago this year.
Oh,
Because the age group championships will always be held at the World Major
yeah,
locations.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So I got an invite, and it's 2 weeks before before Kansas City. Yeah, I'm doing it. So I signed up for that, especially since I know Chicago is just to get a place is coveted now. Just coveted. But what I found out, because I didn't even know about the Wanda Age Group Championships, is that you can either be invited, which is by rankings through 250 marathons throughout the world, or you get an automatic entry, and this is the 3rd year of them, an automatic entry with a time requirement. And it's 35 minutes faster than Boston qualifier.
Wow.
So I have this new time
Oh.
that I want to race in Chicago to get an automatic because it's in London next year.
Oh.
So
would your husband be
So
all right
wait.
going to London next year?
I might have to do that one alone. I might have to. He's been with me to London to do it the first time. So he might say, go,
So
have at it.
when you say you got an invite, does that mean you got an entry?
Yes.
Okay. If
yes.
you chose to go, the entry is taken care of.
Right.
Gotcha.
Now I have to pay my way.
Yeah. But the
Yeah.
race entry is taken care of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But those races are all impossible to get into, so it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard to say no.
Yeah, that's the fun. And in fact, to get an invite or a qualified entry automatic, if you pass this time, well, you pay more than the average registration because there's little perks attached to it too. like a special tent where all the stuff that
okay.
goes with it, special
which-
prize.
Which is nice because you
is.
stay warm before the race if it's chilly.
Right. But it is sort of funny, slightly
Yeah.
amusing. You have been invited, and it's going to cost you more.
More, yeah.
But you're a runner.
But
Yeah.
you're in.
Yeah.
They-
And
they-
you're,
Oh, that's
you're
funny.
like,
They had
I'll
you at, you're
pay
invited.
anything. Exactly. And that was the subject line on the email. You
Yeah.
are invited. You
Yeah.
have earned.
I'm
You
kind
have
of
earned.
I'm kind of dumb that way too. I think I'd go for it.
Kind of like, what is it, Barclay that says, we regret to inform you that you have been accepted. You don't get a congratulations into that one. Well, hey, let's shift gears just a little bit. I want to talk about Grand Rapids running tours. Let's start off with what is it?
Okay.
Let's share what it is.
Well, it all started with this crazy idea. And my husband and I had moved downtown in 2010. And this was as our baby went off to college. So we
Okay.
had become empty nesters.
Ah,
And we moved downtown after living in Greenville for 27 years. And I cleared my plate of all my responsibilities. And I started working for Gazelle Sports. I wanted to just do passion projects because I was a runner. I wanted
Yeah.
the running lifestyle. Loved working for Gazelle. They asked me to coach a group called the Rapid Herd, and that met Tuesdays at noon from the YMCA. And what made it fun for me and for the participants is that every week I planned a different speed workout in a different location. And then I would tell people about the history of these locations or the significance because I'm a history nerd and because I'm a cheerleader for Grand Rapids.
oh, wow.
So people loved that. And they said, you ought to start a tour company.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, it was a love-hate thing because I heard some of the workouts weren't necessarily easy.
No, they weren't. But if you're doing them in a lovely location and you
Oh, look at the cheerleader coming out. Again.
oh my gosh. And we all became very close and it was really, really fun. And I had oh my gosh, I did that for 8 years. So it overlapped with when I had started my company. Rapid Herd doesn't exist anymore. It died with COVID. But I had, 400 different workouts. So they were good
Wow.
workouts, but in different locations. So that was fun. So I started thinking about this idea that my friends had suggested, and I thought, that's got some legs, pardon the pun. And I incorporated in the year 2013. So this is my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
And that first year, I created maybe 4 different routes. I had 5K routes, 10K routes. I actually developed some 10-mile routes. I thought my audience would be out-of-town visitors, a lot of conventioneers that stay downtown. I worked with the Hotel Association. They were thrilled because the concierges love to be able to give running routes or
Yeah,
resources to their guests. And I involved my running friends in the
course.
beginning, and I called them clones of me. They had to have the same enthusiasm, and they went through training, and they were available if I was double booked or I wanted more people on a tour. Over time, I learned that having other people wasn't really necessary, and that those people were doing it because they were my friends, okay?
Yeah.
So I have been really the solo operator, the lone running tour guide. But it quickly morphed into walking tours,
I saw that on the
guide
website, yeah.
tours, and I do lots and lots of presentations. So the minority of my business is actually running tours. So it's
Oh, okay.
I call myself Grand Rapids Running and Walking Tours. But every now and then, somebody will still contact me or reach out to me, or a running group will reach out to me, and out we go, and I love it.
What go ahead.
I was going to say, if you can, because I think about my daily workouts. So I look at that. I couldn't do that in addition. So if it's planning far enough ahead, say I'm going to run at this time, you can make it your workout. So I could see that would work.
Right. Although when people contact me, they have an understanding that it's entertainment.
Right.
It's entertainment. And they realize there's a lot of stop and go. So
That's
we
what I was
may
wondering, yeah.
cover miles. Now, I have had people reach out to me and say, I would like you to give me running commentary. Again, pardon the pun, but no stops. And I want 10 miles. So I can customize it to however, what are people's needs. But what has organically happened is that the city of Grand Rapids, all the organizations such as Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc., they reach out to me to provide tours for locals.
Oh, wow.
Because people who live in the area want to learn more about the city in which we live.
Wow.
So the original business plan that I wrote it's quite different.
Yeah.
Quite different.
What you're actually doing today.
Right. And I'm far busier than I ever imagined.
That is really neat.
So that's every day?
That's what I was just going to ask. What's it look like? What's the schedule?
Okay, my schedule
What's
now?
Yeah.
Well, this past week, for instance, I had 7 events. 7 events. So it was a combination of walking tours, and then I did some presentations. Now, in the very beginning, my tagline was burn while you learn. I'm blending exercise and education together. Burn while you learn. Well, I have presentations. I was at Comstock Park Golden Panthers, a meeting of their senior center members, giving a presentation on the history of Grand Rapids. They didn't have to burn a single calorie except for their brain, the muscles in their head. So it really has again, it morphed into something I never imagined. But at my root, my name is still Grand Rapids Running Tours. It's whether we're running or I'm managing running them.
Where do you run? So when you do a tour, you might start from wherever.
Correct.
Is that...
And I have 80 different routes, 80 different tours.
And what's an average route?
The
distance
is for a walking tour, it may be 1 to 2 miles.
Okay.
For a running tour, it's anywhere between 3 and 5 miles, unless you specifically say, I really want to get 7 miles in. I want to get 10 miles in. And it's like, oh, okay. Because I've developed this fine art of talking while I'm running. And
we all are good at that.
yeah, conversational pace.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Or conversation, or at least you can listen.
We solve the world's problems on our conversational pace in the morning.
Right. And they say that's because our conversations are so intimate as runners is because we're not actually looking at each other. We can say more because we're running forward.
Yeah, I say some ridiculous things.
Right.
I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah, if you were sitting across the table, you may not have said that.
Yeah, I suppose. So what is the, I'm thinking as you do a tour, obviously you have specific areas you want to hit, right? Are you generally, though, just through the years, have you developed there's probably not a place in GR that you can't go and give the history of? Would you say?
Yeah. My husband, again, he jokes that, do you remember Cliff from Cheers?
Uh-huh.
He was just a walking encyclopedia. He says, I'm Cliff. Yeah. Pretty much. I've become a bit of a local historian and what's happening presently and what's expected in the future. But the tours themselves are they're thematically organized. So you could be signing up for a study of architecture. It could be a study of the murals. It could be Greener Grand Rapids, where the topic is about our sustainable efforts. It could be Steepletown, which is running or walking by all the historically significant churches in Grand Rapids, which are beautiful. So to hear the stories is wonderful. It could be, I have one that's called West Side Stories, which is all about the west side of Grand Rapids specifically. I do Ada, East Grand Rapids.
Okay.
So we obviously meet when we're doing those away from downtown locations. We meet there. But most of them, my meeting place is in the lobby of the JW Marriott. They've been very kind to me from day one. That's the meeting place. So there's a restroom and a dry spot to meet. Even if it's raining outside, we still go.
What is, and this is your, I don't want to say it's your opportunity, but like, what is your favorite tour to give? And I'm not like, obviously, so let's take out any potential businesses of being offended or anything like that. But let's just go, raw and authentic when they go, hey, we don't care. Give us a 4-mile route. And what is your favorite part of Grand Rapids to cover?
Okay. So I have a tour. It's called...
And can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's called Lapping the Landmarks. So I call it the most popular one. And it's not that people are requesting it, per se. It's that I suggest it if it's their first one.
Gotcha.
Because I have a really nice bounce back. People, once they do one, they think, oh my gosh, you have 79 more of these? This is great. And they're learning. It's like learning the secrets about where you live. Not the secrets, but it almost feels like that. So then you're driving down the street and you can say, I know that building was constructed in 1874 by Mr. William Ledyard, who was a banker. And, it's like, it's knowing the background. You appreciate where you're from so much more. So Lapping the Landmarks is a general foundational tour of the big points in history. The Founding Father. And then when we're in Anabawan Park, which is in front of the Gerald Ford Museum, all the indigenous people history, the Odawa, Potawatomi, Ojibwa, the tribes of Three Fires. Very important to me that I tell the story of the first peoples that were here.
Okay.
And then the first non-Native American settler was Louis Campo. And can people name that? It's surprising for the founder of our city how many people can't name that or would have no time perspective. Like, when was that? Well, you know what? The first non-Native American permanent settler was Louis in 1826. That's not even 200 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Not even. So, the world's been spinning for 4.5 billion years, and not even 200 years ago is our history on the banks of the Grand River. Okay? So that predates Zealand and Holland, and, it was really the first establishment in this area. So I love sharing that perspective with people that we really need to appreciate how youthful our history is, even compared to the city of Detroit. I mean, that was founded in 1701, so we weren't founded for another 125 years. The west side of the state was just wild territory, of course, inhabited by the Native Americans, but no settlements such as we would think of as in Detroit or, non-Native American settlements. So on Lapping the Landmarks, we do a lot of that early history, even geologically. Like, when do you think the Grand River Valley was made? And people are,
I don't know.
I've never really thought about it. Well, it was about 10,000 years ago after the last ice age. The last ice age was only 10,000 years ago. Yeah. It's putting things into perspective.
Yeah.
And then the other landmarks are things that bring us to the present time. The Calder, which is really La Grande Vitesse. We call it the Calder because we understand Alexander Calder designed it. But it's La Grande Vitesse, the great swiftness. Did you know that beautiful red sculpture, which is a symbol of our city now, is called the Great Swiftness because it's in honor of our Grand River.
Huh.
It's water. So much of our architecture and art is honoring the Grand River.
Huh. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, without the Grand River, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
So I hope while taking people on that foundational tour, I give them a perspective of the age of our city, what are the major influences, why the West Side is the West Side in terms of the enclaves of immigrant groups that came to work on our furniture factory. I mean, I cover a little bit of everything. It's like and then the other tours are deeper for each subject.
Oh, that's cool. So a couple of things come to mind. I don't want to forget them because often what happens is a guest will be talking and inevitably I'll forget and I'll look at Mitch and go, I had something and I don't have a clue what it is. Can you help me out here?
The audience is used to that.
Yes. But two things come to mind. Number one, I don't want to forget either one of these, but really quickly, I'm thinking the average length of a tour for 4 miles. So I'm thinking, okay, 10-minute miles, 40 minutes. What's the actual length? And then two is, why did Louis Campeau stop here? I mean, obviously the Grand River, but I'm just thinking, well, let's just give a little piece there.
Sure.
And why did he land here? And so, let's start with the time. You know, what does it take to do one of these tours, a 4-mile tour? So runner says, hey, let's go do 4 miles. And how long are we going to plan
If they
on this?
tell me they have an hour and they want to tour and run, we actually just run for an hour. Okay. If they say they have 90 minutes, we run for 90 minutes.
That includes your stop, discussion,
Right.
time.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly. So it's not so much.
There's not a set tour.
Right. It's not like there's a start and a finish line. It's time-based.
Okay.
It's time-based. And I have yet to have anybody, when I say, okay, we've been at this 75 minutes. How are you? Like, are you good? They're like, keep going. Keep going.
Where's the next one? And let's go through there.
Right. And they sort of, I have to say, unless they're specific about mileage and I have to be back for an appointment at such and such time, they sort of give up the fact that it's a running workout. This isn't their speed workout.
Right.
This is entertainment while you're exercising.
That's kind of cool.
It's kind of your bonus exercise for the day.
What is so I want to get to Louis Campeau again, but this just made me think of so I want to understand the structure here because in my mind initially I thought I'm going to go to Grand Rapids Running Tour. Is it GrandRapidsRunningTour.com?
Yes, it is.
GrandRapidsRunningTour.com. I'm going to go there.
Running tours. Plural.
Running tours. Good. Thank you. GrandRapidsRunningTours.com. And I'm going to pick lapping. What is it?
Lapping the landmarks.
Lapping the landmarks. But that's not necessarily how it is. Like if I am I going to go there and be able to select that or how does that work?
Oh, so I have lots of partnerships with organizations where I have series of walks by tour topic. Okay. So that's on my website that you can either go to these free tours that are offered through Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc., or you can go to one of these 6 recreational departments like Grand Rapids, East Grand Rapids, Kentwood, Rockford, Wyoming. I'm missing one. Caledonia. And on their rec department, they are basically sponsoring my walks.
Okay.
So you can sign up through the rec departments. Then for all other, because so much of what I do, people reach out to me, email. Just email me.
Okay.
I have, Keller Williams last week reached out and said, hey, on April 27th, are you available to lead a walking tour through Heritage Hill for my office staff? Absolutely. I'm all over it. And then I plan it based upon where they're meeting, etc. So much of what I do is just email custom. Email custom. Those other schedules I just mentioned, those I post on my homepage of my website.
Okay. Cool. Let's get to Louis Campeau. Why did he stop in Grand Rapids?
Okay. fur trading.
Okay.
Okay, fur trading. So he had been, if you're familiar with the city of Detroit at all, Joseph Campo, and that's the French
Yeah, I
pronunciation.
think I actually did know that. Not
Yeah.
that I knew it. I
Joseph?
probably wouldn't have got it in a trivia, but I've read that somewhere. I know that. Yeah.
So he was, they're of French descent. They had been of France proper. Then they went to Montreal. This is the Campo family is very prominent in history. And then moved to Detroit in the 1700s. And they started sort of breeding within their family fur traders. So Joseph raised, this would be Louis's uncle, raised him as a fur trader. His first assignment was in Saginaw. So Saginaw calls him the founder of their city, too.
Oh, no way.
Yes. So if you see a statue.
Before Grand Rapids.
Yes. And then he was encouraged by the Native Americans because he was a good representative of the fur trade business to come to Grand Rapids to establish what would be the first permanent fur trading post. So you see, in this area, we had transient. We had French fur traders, we had American fur traders, we had British fur traders, but they were transient. They would do their business with the Native Americans and then go back and sell their fur. So Louis decides he's going to establish a permanent post, and he chose this junction of the where we live, downtown Grand Rapids, because of the rapids. This is
easy transportation at that time.
Well, it was a very fertile area.
Oh.
As far as your eyes could see was timber. The resources were abundant. And of course, the Native Americans had settled there first because of the rapids.
Okay.
So, in the Native American village, Chief Noonday's village, which is why Anabawan Park is called that. That's Ottawa language for the resting place. And they were on the west bank of the river. Louis established his trading post, his fur trading post, on the east bank, where the Amway Grand Hotel sits today.
No way.
Excuse me. And the river was much wider. It went all the way out to what is Monroe today. There were 4 islands in the river.
Right
river.
in Grand Rapids there.
Where the JW Marriott stands today, that was once an island.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, things were different. Things were very different. And what I've also started to do is bring images, photos for...
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I can show people, this is what you see now, but this is what it looked like then.
Oh, cool.
So that's why Louis Campo chose that place, is because of Chief Noonday's village was across the way.
A lot of the flooding that we deal with today, we kind of did it to ourselves, is really what it kind of comes down to.
Well, actually, the flooding was natural.
Right.
Yeah.
Every spring, the river swelled.
Yeah.
It was not until post the greatest flood that we ever had was in 1904 that we started building flood walls. But prior to that, we had already changed the appearance of the Grand River, which the Native Americans worshipped. They revered. And we took out the boulders that created the rapids so that we could...
Which there's talk about bringing them back or something like that.
Absolutely, restoration of the rapids.
That's still moving forward?
Well, it's a 13-year-old project now, and it's been developed into phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay.
And about a month ago, it was announced a bit of a setback on phase 2, which is the removal of the 6th Street Dam that's been tabled. But it's my understanding that phase 1, which removes the 4 low-rise dams that are between Bridge Street and Fulton, that that plan continues, that those will come out because they're a deterrent to kayakers, etc. They're very dangerous.
Yeah.
And the river's edges are to be improved. You'll see all sorts of improvements. The first one you will see this summer is the base of Lyons Street, right behind the Amway Grand Hotel. That area is going to be improved. So there is forward progress and then a step back. But we have to be patient because do you know that the Van Andel Arena was 20 years in the planning? Because we read about it in the paper today doesn't
we want it
mean
tomorrow.
Right.
Put the rocks back. We want rapids. Let's go.
Right. Not so easy.
Yeah.
But those were my favorite runs back in the day. I used to run with Rudy and Perry quite a bit, and we'd just run on both sides of the river. And then we stopped a lot and watched people fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rudy's a big. He likes to.
Well,
fish.
Perry more than Rudy,
Perry?
but they both do. So we would just sit there and I'd be like, we should be exercising. We should still be running. No, we're gonna sit here and watch these guys for a while.
Yeah. And they're still fishing. Oh my goodness. It's amazing what they pull out of the river. I mean,
Yeah. Well, so one more thing I was thinking of. How does somebody, like, if I go there, what am I going to spend? What's this cost me?
okay. So it's $20 per person
Okay.
to sign up for an event to
Gotcha.
run with me. And the group rate is for more than 10 people, and it goes down to $15 a person. And then large organizations, because I can take up to 50 people on a tour.
Oh, wow.
If it's a large organization, I'll just quote a flat fee at that point so they don't have to count bodies so much.
If you had 50 people, how do they hear you at that point?
I have
the
amplification.
Oh.
Yeah, a little
Really?
little box.
Oh.
Yeah, little box. And I use the cheerleader voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is really cool. If anybody wants to check them out, go to GrandRapidsRunningTours.com.
Correct.
And basically just email you. You love email.
Yes, absolutely. And this is the fun part. The good news is just scheduling now. Like, okay, I can work you in on this day or maybe the next day. I used to be so worried about if somebody asked for a specific day and time. Oh, I can't do it. But now I've learned I can't make that time, but how about an hour later? And
Right.
oh, sure. People are happy to work with
How
me.
much of this is your training? None?
My training in life, you mean?
No, and running. Do you use this at all for your training anymore?
No.
No, I wouldn't imagine.
No. I mean, it's time on feet.
Yeah.
For instance, during our prize, I'll give 40 tours, and I'm literally exhausted
I bet.
physically from being on my feet. So, somebody asked me, do you count those steps in your distance? And I don't. Maybe I should.
It would be neat to see, like on a busy time, like Art Prize. What are you covering?
Right.
Do you turn your watch on when you're doing these?
Well, I have it. I do not I don't bring my Garmin on the walks and runs, but I do have my total steps on my phone. So I often look, if my red ring's been filled in, and I'll see, oh wow, it says I walked 9 miles today, but I never know how much to really trust that. And I've never built that in. Some people build walk miles into their
Well, as an ultra runner, you
training.
definitely do.
Yeah. And I have not yet, because I think that I might not run as much.
True. That's true. Yeah.
So I like to think of it as pure run miles.
Yeah.
I was trying to get to that, to pick up on that, to say, like, you feel like you're cheating or something if you counted your walking miles.
Right. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, that is really neat. I think, boy, that would be a lot of fun to learn and. Well, to learn more about Grand Rapids, anytime you do those kinds of things, I think it's really.
I always think that when I'm traveling for work, that I could see in the big cities, like just to hook up with a running group, like it would be fun like if they posted their time and say, hey, we're going to meet at this time or something like that. Just running groups in general.
Yeah, get with your running stores and post
Right.
those because that's usually who you would reach out to. Like
Something. It seems like there would be, and it would be trying to pick a route when you're out of town and trying to get your run in. It's
Exactly.
it's not always that much fun.
yeah, and I don't know when you're out. I mean, depending on what you're training for, but 4 miles is enough. I mean, a lot of times you
Yeah.
just want to get out there and get some run. Get some miles in. It doesn't have to be. And in this case, you can get 4. You can get 10. You can get what's your
Right.
max?
Well, the longest I've done on a bona fide running tour
Yeah.
is 10.
Okay.
And this is the couple that wanted the tour of Heritage Hill. And so we went up and down and around every block of Heritage Hill, and I just oozed with the
Yeah.
background story. And that particular day, it was predicted to be 95 and humid, really humid.
Oh,
so
boy.
I met them at 5 in the morning
Oh,
because they
okay.
wanted to avoid the heat.
Is that where the Frank Lloyd Wright house is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I include that. I have a whole series of different Heritage Hill
Oh, okay.
walking tours, and then if you string them all together, you have a 10-mile running tour.
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've talked about what got you into running. We've
Mm-hmm.
talked about Gunner's running tours. Let's just talk about what you have on the horizon. What's new? We did briefly mention you're working on. Did we briefly mention the 50 states?
Oh, yeah. We
We
Dove into that a bit.
yeah.
But you mentioned something else as we were talking.
we were talking early about
Yeah.
you did the majors.
Yeah,
and
the
then,
world majors, and that's such a neat deal. They make a big deal out
Yeah.
of that. And, I have this medal that's that big, and it's fun. But those world majors, they're hard to get into now. And, you're on all sorts of wait lists and all that. And then, of course, the travel and the big crowds, and just they're a feat. Well, I decided after all that, I am only going to do world minors.
which is whatever you make up.
Yeah.
So
I asked, what ones are those?
okay, so for instance, the first world minor I did was the Sleeping Bear marathon.
I've run that a couple times.
That
you?
was fun, and I don't know, a couple hundred people maybe.
Yeah, not a ton.
Not and that was so fun, hilly.
Yeah.
Really hilly, but it was so fun. And so this last one I ran 2 weeks ago, because I wanted Wisconsin, was Waukesha, which is outside of Milwaukee, and there were 74 of us total. But when there's 74 runners, I was like top 10 women.
Yeah.
I was like the 19th finisher of the race, and it snowed like heck.
Oh.
We had snow, like sleet on my face. It was mud. It was really fun. It was fun, and it was a world minor. The packet pickup was a table, one little table.
One person at a table.
One little table. Oh, and the treats at the end, all the grandmas of Waukesha were serving hot chocolate.
Oh, I love it.
I really enjoy races. I've done
Small races
a
like
lot of
that.
races, but I have gone to just whatever, and it's fun.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
and you talk about, like, we talked about this. I know we've talked about this, but like, who did I talk about this with? But anyway, like, with your vacation, you're visiting places that you wouldn't necessarily
Right.
go.
For sure.
And so when you do those podunk ones, and I say podunk, small town race ones, those are definitely places you wouldn't necessarily go. And you really do get a different experience and a very cool experience doing that.
My one race abroad, I was in Germany for work.
Right.
There was 24 people in the race.
No.
It was like a backyard marathon. So
That's
it was
right.
out in the middle of nowhere. And then what he had was the aid station. There was one aid station. It was self-serve. And we just did loops out in the forest. and each person had a cup with their number on it. So you come up there.
This
and
was pre-COVID.
Yeah, and all they had, so it was just sit in this spot, and you'd come up and you would grab your cup and pour whatever they had. So like they're big, I don't know if he's big sweet tea drinkers or whatever it was, but tasted fantastic for the day. And they just had snacks out there. But it was a blast. You'd run by these guys, and those that speak English would talk my ear off. Some guys I didn't understand.
That was in Amsterdam?
No, that was in Germany. It was in. I was there for work for a couple of weeks.
okay.
Everybody else
How
went.
fun.
Everybody else did a castle tour. I ran a marathon.
You went and did a marathon.
It was a
How big
blast.
were the loops?
They were only a couple miles.
Okay.
Oh
like
my
it was.
gosh.
Yeah, it was just loops in the forest. Like it was, and then every few miles you come back and you fill up your cup, and yeah, it wasn't a fast race.
But it was fun.
It was.
It was fun, and those are the ones you remember.
And at the finish, we all went to the restaurant that was right there and sat at a bunch of tables. I didn't bring any money with me, and one of the guys is like, "You're my guest. And he bought me a beer, and it was
That's
awesome.
awesome.
It was a great
Well,
experience.
It reminds me of Circular Logic a little bit,
Yep.
which again was an awesome race. And for those listening, considering a race that is a loop race, do it, especially if it's a small loop like
Right.
that, because we did Circular Logic in Indiana. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And it's a 1 mile loop, and it's a
It sounds bad,
marathon. It's a marathon, 4 hour, 8 hour, or something like that. What
At
was
first, it was just a marathon the first time we did it. You
Okay.
didn't go with us when we did that.
Yep.
But then it was a timed race, and you
8
could
hour.
do 8 hours. And we all signed up for 8 hours. And I think you were 1 mile shy of 50 miles, I think.
No, I think we got 50 miles.
Did you? Okay. Because you started taking it easy. But I just did
Yeah.
whatever. I can't remember if I got 37, 30. I
But you
took
would
it easy.
think,
But we ran together a lot because he was
ton.
killing it. And it's like, hey, I'm just going to walk this lap.
Yeah.
All right.
it was a blast. I would have
Yeah.
never thought, oh my goodness, 1 mile loops for that long. But it was a blast.
We had our own table set up, and we brought our own food.
And so that what made me think of that is when you came around, you could take your water bottle. Everybody labeled their water
Pre-COVID.
bottles. You would throw it in the empty one. They would fill it for you. You'd come back through. They'd have it set on the table. You grab it and go. It's only 1 mile. So you'd be back there in a mile. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. They moved it south somewhere, and then I don't even know if it's still going now. But
They did something with that park. I think they closed
Yeah.
the park and turned it into a housing development or something.
so
And
they had to move it. And we
it's too
didn't
far. It's a lot further away now.
further a little bit. Well, yeah, it was like a little bit further away, but then, like there's no highway, quick way to get there.
Right.
So you're not just adding like if it's 60 miles, you weren't just adding an hour, you're adding like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
It was, but anyway,
We just didn't.
anyway.
But it was a blast. It was fun because faster and slow people that run together, we
Right.
you could
meet
run
up.
together a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and like, because it was an 8 hour, the ultra side of things, you could relax for a mile.
Yeah.
So what?
You could decide
together for a
how
little
many
bit.
miles you're going to do. So you didn't have to go 8 hours, but you could just take your time and just get as many
Yeah.
miles you wanted.
I would highly
Fun.
recommend a race like that. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Well, cool. Have fun. So what's your next world minor that you're looking at?
I don't think I've selected it yet because
Okay.
Kansas City isn't really a minor.
Yeah.
So I haven't selected it yet.
Okay. But you
Maybe-
have that on the horizon this year to grab
Right.
one or two of those.
Right. So I'll have Chicago in the fall and then the Kansas City right after that.
Oh, that's right. You got the entry into Chicago. That's right.
Right.
So those are the two on the horizon this year.
Right.
Okay.
And,
Right.
and you're running Riverbank this year.
Right. Well, She Runs is coming up in 2 weeks, so
Oh.
I'll do the half. And yeah, I do all the local races. Of
Okay.
course, I do. In fact, the Riverbank Run is my streak race.
Okay.
That's the one I've run the most consecutive.
Except for when you took your bib off. You can't
yeah,
count
I'd
it.
have to prove
Didn't
that one.
technically,
Right.
you didn't finish that one. You started it, but didn't finish.
Technically, but I finished. Yeah. Don't make
it's
that
not what
same
the results
mistake.
say.
Yeah,
it's not what the results say.
I know. Pride. What? Pride goeth before the fall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
No pacing Chicago for you.
No. And then I'll do, of course, the Deemer 5K.
Oh, yeah.
'cause-
Brian Deemer. Yeah.
Although 5Ks hurt.
They do. They suck.
Yeah.
Anybody that runs I shouldn't say, but a lot of people that go to the marathon distance say 5Ks suck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like a sprint
I run
all out.
I run the same pace no matter what. I get teased for it.
Well,
So I don't run a 5K hard.
Yeah. 5Ks just, man, they hurt.
I don't know how to turn
They
it on
do.
like that.
The
Yeah.
lungs burn.
I know. It's true. Well, with I run with Run GR, and we do the Magic of the Mile.
Oh.
That's a race in the summer, and that hurts.
Well, that's puking distance there.
Right, and
So like
it's
you have
like
5K that just like hurts the lungs and the throat and you're breathing super hard. Then you have the mile, which is like you could puke at the end of that.
right. Well, and one year I think I did cough for about 2 weeks afterwards.
Oh.
It just really it does.
Yeah, it takes
You know,
it out of you.
Right.
It's a different. We talked to Greg and Dennis.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the Caledonia Mile. Is that what it is?
I don't remember which one it was right
Well,
now.
they have a Caledonia
Kentwood?
Kilt Classic coming up.
was
but
not that.
yeah.
Nobody should run in a kilt.
No. No, maybe it was Kentwood. Maybe it was Kentwood or something like that. But they have they were talking about a mile that they've raced.
They said it was fun.
A lot of fun to go back. And I mean, you think about it, that's what you do in high school a lot if you run track or something like that. It's usually a mile or 2 mile for the distance people, say distance. So to try to see, what could I do? Mm-hmm. What could I
Right.
do in just a mile?
Right.
You would have to change something, Mitch. You'd have to try to go faster.
I don't know how.
He has one speed.
Race shoes.
Race shoes.
That's what Greg and Dennis told us.
They did.
Yeah,
the
put your
carbon ones.
carbon plates in
Yeah.
your shoes and
I don't think that's enough. I'm still lazy.
I did take, it's funny, going back to golf again, I did pick up some next percenters for golf.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, though,
we can't
the
talk
only
about. I was
reason-
told to stop you on golf.
The only reason they're $170 pair of shoes,
You got them for
60
$160.
bucks.
Oh, I was gonna say,
$60.
they saw you coming.
No, it was a color thing. The green and white ones, they're mostly white with just a green.
I thought they
green
were supposed to
swoosh.
be ugly if you're out golfing, though.
No, no way. You gotta look good golfing.
Whatever.
can't wear your race shirts there.
No,
I would.
You need a collar. You need some.
Yeah, that's what they need, are race shirts with collars.
Some people do. They wear the button-down collars now, or with a collar on them. Yeah. Well, cool. Caroline, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for telling us about Grand Rapids Running Tours. I think that's really neat. And man, it makes me want to go and do it, to join a tour. Because it's fun learning about an area.
Maybe
this
it'd
is
get
an
you out.
area you live.
Maybe it'd get you out the door. He needs help getting out
Maybe.
the door.
You need to get out of the
knows?
basement.
I know, but this is where I do a lot of work right now.
Yeah.
For this. Well, anyway, hey, thanks for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. You've been delightful hosts. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Mitch, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Nope, I don't have anything.
Well, go to GrandRapidsRunningTours.com and check out a tour and email Caroline and ask her if she can give you a special one or whatever, or join one that's already on there. And
I want to see someone ask her for a 20-miler.
I
That's the
do
challenge.
it. I do it.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
just
fast.
have to understand that you're going to stop a little and talk a little.
Right,
So it's-
right.
Yeah, you get breaks.
Right.
Do you plant aid stations along the way?
I've never had a distance long enough where I've had to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe the 10-miler, but
In my frequently asked questions section of the
Yeah.
website,
Ah.
it asks, do I bring water along or whatever? And it's sure, whatever you need, but I can't carry it for you.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
so it is self-supported.
yes.
It's yourself. You just
Yeah.
gotta follow along and get yourself through it.
Right.
Well, hey, go to. That's going to wrap up this week's episode. Go to YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. This will be on there, and And then go to Facebook, follow us there, comment, leave any questions in there. Love communicating with you guys. Anybody that sends us an email, we make sure to reply and talk to. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know.
Until then, happy running.